welcome to our regular select board meeting. It is 6 p.m. on June 18th. First is to set and adjust the agenda. We have anything?
Nope.
Are you going to do a report for Mike, or do we remove that?
It's the road foreman's turn, and I'm gonna do the
Oh.
road foreman's report.
Oh, it says given by Mike Henry, that's why I
Yeah,
got
Yeah.
confused.
we can scrap
I
I
that.
made
got
Mistaken.
confused. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like there are no adjustments to the agenda. So next we have communication from the audience. Hi Heidi, welcome Scott. Scott, did you want to just quickly introduce yourself and do everything?
I'm here. Just grab a chair here. Hi. So, thank you. I'm happy you're having this meeting tonight. Hasn't turned into an emergency exercise for your town. I know that you've got a lot of rain today, so I'm excited about that. Just some high-level stuff. I think one thing that maybe hasn't hit the radar screens of the people covering the legislature or the press is that I think there's a really large effort going on to get more transportation dollars into Vermont roads, and specifically to get the state portion that goes to towns to increase that. It's stagnated for a long time, and most of the reason for that is just that the fuel tax, which is the biggest contributor to the transportation fund, has basically atrophied between people moving to electric vehicles or hybrid vehicles or just your regular old combustion vehicles get way better gas mileage than they used to. And so we're trying to pivot to get more money to the transportation fund. We would like to be paving 300 miles of state highway every year. There's about 2,800 miles total. 200 is like, okay, we could kind of get by with 200. It wouldn't be pretty, but we're paving 56 miles of state highway this year,
Wow.
which is a huge problem. If we do that for a couple of years, our roads are all going to be really terrible. So there is a big push to get more money into the transportation fund, which means to redirect it from other places in this $9.5 billion budget, and at least and to also increase the state's commitment to the town road maintenance, which is really important too. So that's kind of something that I think really impacts Hardwick and every other town in Vermont, and especially because you guys have a major state highway coming through here and can't just be cratered and people.
Three of them.
14, 15, 16, yeah, right. I mean, so hopefully we can get that done, and we have increased the pendulum has started to swing, and over the next 2 years, the state's commitment to transportation is going to increase by about $40 million versus what it was last year. But in my opinion, it needs to probably grow by double $40 million and maybe even more than that. So we're working hard to get those transportation dollars. On the school side, we're in an interesting place. I don't know if it was the majority of Vermonters, but the majority of legislators decided that they did not want the state to do district reconstruction. That they wanted to let the towns do that, and the good news is that there's local control now to make that happen. I guess the not so good news is that sometimes our towns don't want to do that, and so we have to figure out how to navigate that. But I would say, just in general, where the state wants to end up as far as education is concerned, and we're not talking about delivery and how teachers teach, but just on districts and how many buildings and that kind of stuff is. This kind of the theme that has been consistent all along is we really want local elementary schools, across the landscape. How small could those elementary schools be? I don't know, I've heard a lot of people that know a lot more about education than I do say, you know, I can make an elementary school with 50 kids and it work. You know, generalized instruction, I could do that. With that being said, we, I think this year have 5 public elementary schools closing in Vermont. There is small is fine, but then there is, at some point you get into too small. And we've had 5 that have, I think, are closing this year. So local elementaries, centralized middle schools, and regional high schools, okay? We can afford to have local elementary schools, and our communities want local elementary schools. Everybody's on board with that. But then when you start to get to the upper grades, it's like, you know, specialization and CTE and AP and labs and more athletics and all that kind of stuff. That increased specialization is hard, if not impossible, to operate a high school with 50 kids in it. You know, you just have to have bigger. So that's the theme, is local elementary schools, centralized middle schools, and regional high schools. And why redistricting is so important to that conversation is because kids can't easily cross district lines. Okay, if it's just, you know, the district has fiduciary responsibility for that child, as they should, and they can't just give that kid to another school district if they operate. You know, if they tuition, the kids can go anywhere. And so we see a lot of that in this area. You know, we have a lot of K through 8 schools that they have the kids from pre-kindergarten, kindergarten up to 8th grade. Very small. And then they're operating as a middle school too. And those kids in those 6th, 7th, 8th grades at those elementary schools can't get to a school next door because the school next door is in a different school district. And so that's why the bigger groupings are important, to let the kids be able to move to those bigger middle schools and those bigger high schools, but still keep the local elementary schools, because those are really important to the communities. So it's going to be up to the districts to figure this out. Like I said, I was in a conversation, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, up in Standard. The Standard is, you know, they're part of the Mountain View School District, and they're part of your SU in this area, and they're looking at this as, do they want to do something different? And I would suspect that, you know, all of the school districts and SUs in all throughout the state of Vermont will look at this, I hope will look at this as an opportunity to, okay, if we organize ourselves in a little bit different way, could we do a better job here for our kids, for our taxpayers? And so they're going to be having those conversations, and I'm sure they'll, in some cases, they'll be really smooth conversations. You know, down in the other part of Caledonia, the southern part of the Caledonia County, they're already doing this on their own. They'll be done by the time the state even gets involved, probably, but it won't be that seamless everywhere. So school boards will have a lot of, you know, in some cases will have a lot of work ahead of them, and then to get to a place where they can honestly say, our kids are going to get a better education here, and that our communities support that decision. So, you know, culture is a big thing. So, but, I don't know, other than that, it was an easy session.
Yeah.
Only took 20 weeks. So, any questions or anything?
Scott, I have a super quick
Yeah.
question with that. Is there, what kind of support is there from the state for the regional conversation?
Yeah, so each, the state has been divided up into 7 areas, what they call a CISA district. And initially, what the CISA is responsible for doing is taking everybody that's in that CISA, that area, and helping them start conversations. And if a district says, you know, you've got us in the wrong group, you've got us in the wrong CISA district, they can actually swap back and forth. I think Hardwick, you all are in the Lamoille County area. You're not at, the rest of Caledonia County from Newport all the way down to Hartford is in one big CISA, but you all, because you have more of a connection educationally to Lamoille County than you do the rest of Caledonia County, especially with the tech center over there at Lamoille Valley Union. You're in this CISA, I think it's called the Winooski CISA is what it's called.
Yep.
And actually Standard's a good example. Standard's in your CISA and your SU, but right now they're like, does it make more sense for us to go east over to Caledonia or not? That's just a conversation they've started. So that's where it will start right there. I mean, the legislature, I guess, would say, you could say, gave everybody a head start and that they put them into a group. And maybe they'll stay in that group, or maybe they'll ask to go to a different group. But at least there's, we've set up the table and the seats at the table. And, you know, we'll see where it goes from there. Yeah. So I think Hardwick's in great shape because I think Hazen Union, I mean, it really is a regional high school. I mean, I could not imagine that there wouldn't be a public high school between St. Johnsburg and Morrisville. I mean, that's just too far. So I think Hazen is in really good shape, especially if you talk about the roads. They all kind of get here, you know, some way or another. So I think Hazen's in good shape, and Hardwick Elementary is, you know, it's got some capacity. It's also in pretty good physical condition. So I think that Hardwick's in pretty good shape here to do something that benefits your kids and your taxpayers. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for the update.
Yeah.
Thank you, Scott. Is there any other communication from the audience for something not on the agenda? No, great. Well, thanks again, Scott. It's wonderful to have you here. Thanks for coming all the way over. Next, we have the select board to approve the minutes of the regular select board meeting of June 4th.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? They looked great. All those in favor of approving the regular select board minutes of June 4th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Larry, did you get that? I know it's probably hard to hear.
I wasn't at that meeting, so I abstained.
Okay, perfect. And we've got one abstention from Larry.
He wasn't at the meeting.
Yeah, I wasn't reading. Larry, is the sound okay?
Yeah, it sounded okay.
Okay.
It's a little hard to understand what people are saying, but the volume is good.
Okay.
Same with you.
Looks like you're under a bridge.
I'm in a studio in Philadelphia that attract me, so if my volume's not good, it's understandable.
Well, we'll do our best to speak up and be clear. Great. Next, we have the town manager report given by David Upson.
Okay, so we've kicked off the CDBG DR planning grant for the downtown. And the project manager is asking for an advisory team, and this would be like a daytime role. It wouldn't meet very often, and they're someone from the select board. So we got those two CDBG, which are Community Development Block Grant, Disaster Relief Fund grants. One is an implementation and one is a planning grant. This would be for the planning grant through the downtown. So think about it, get back to either myself or Kristen. Not a heavy lift, just kind of being aware of what's going on with the project, and making sure that we're getting what we asked for from Stone Environmental. Moving forward with the FEMA scope of work changes, with the project manager, the engineer project manager that we hired as a consultant to move these projects forward. I'm also working on project closeouts, the projects that we've completed. That's everything from the beginning of the road repairs to some of the smaller sewer line projects. So we're working through that. We still have the fire station conversation. There's been really no movement on that. And the obligated funds from the wastewater facility are caught up in EHP, which are historic and environmental protection, and that everything's kind of hung up in FEMA with that. So we're hoping that that money will be obligated. In the meantime, we've got, we'll be putting out the it's an RFP, but we're really looking for qualified engineers to be able to do the redesign with several alternatives for the wastewater plant moving forward. So that's, those scope of work changes are cumbersome, and they're requiring a lot of attention and time, but Philip, our project manager consultant that we hired is actually getting up to speed and helping us move those forward with his engineering background, and he's able to communicate with the engineers we hired to do the bridge designs, the slope stabilization designs. So that work is moving forward faster than it was before. Last week for 4 days from 8 to 10, Tracy Martin and I taught a J-term class up at the high school, and that was the equity committee project to like give more access to government from the kids at the high school level. I thought the class went well. There were 3 kids in the class. And I partnered with Mr. Considine at Hazen. So we're hoping that there'll be a little bit more interest next year. In J-term this year, J-term stands for June term, and it's really like when they add snow days, it's like usually like a 2-week class, but there was only 4 days because we didn't have a lot of snow days this year, so they lucked out. And then an update on the Buffalo Mountain Steering Committee meeting that was on June 9th. I went to the beginning of the meeting, called the meeting to order, and we nominated a chair and vice chair and secretary. The chair is Brendan Buckley, the vice chair is Eric Remick, and the secretary is Marila Prigobon. And Amanda's been coordinating with that team, and the responsibility that the town manager's office had with the coordination of the steering committee is being like slowly pushed over to the chair, vice chair, and secretary. I think that's going okay. And then they're still kind of getting up to speed, but they're gonna start getting into the nuts and bolts of that project. And they're meeting again on the 23rd. So it's the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of the month at 6 o'clock. And those meetings are open to the public.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
is there any plan to have them, have their minutes posted on the website, or?
They have been.
Oh, they have.
The last meeting, or the last set of minutes were a little bit delayed, but I will post those. But
So
the
they're-
first set of minutes were posted like the next day.
So on the website, where do you go for that?
There's a page for the.
That says Buffalo Mountain Steering Committee?
Yep,
Okay,
and it has agendas, meeting minutes, and attachments.
great.
Thanks, Amanda.
Yeah. And then I have an announcement for the town meeting forum that the Gazette, thanks to Paul Fix, has put together for the area towns. It'll be at HCA Monday at 5 p.m. And Susan Clark, who wrote Slow Democracy, about this actual town meeting problem in New England, will be there speaking and answering questions. So I think it's a really good opportunity for folks to go and learn more about the process in town meeting. And that is Monday night at 5 p.m. at HCA. And I think there's going to be a dinner there too. Like, I think there's going to be a food option.
So are they making posters, or how are they getting the word out? That's pretty quick.
Yeah, I think that it was in the Gazette.
It's on our town website.
Good.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if they've done Front Porch Forum posts, but
Okay.
I'm assuming they have.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So, yeah.
That's great.
And all three towns have been Craftsbury's been advertising it as well.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, so I think it'll be a really informative, question and answer, and, we have a lot of, I know we're gonna discuss this later, but we have, quite a bit of interest to get on the task force for the town meeting, conversation, so, that's good. And that's what I have so far, and I can go right into the road report if you want me to.
Do you have an update on the CCS bridge work?
Everything's, scheduled, like up to schedule.
Yep.
They finished, thanks for asking about that, sorry. They're done drilling, they're done with the micropiles. So they're going to, they're getting the approval for the submittals for the rebar. So the rebar needs to get inspected, by our project, our engineers and architects. And then they'll be, forming up the footing, and they'll be pouring the footing and working their way, after the footing, they'll be working their way up the wall, and as they work their way back, they'll be backfilling.
Yep.
So that's the next thing. So through the end of June and through July, they'll be pouring concrete, pouring concrete, and backfilling, and working their way back up to grade. But that project is going well. The high water, I took a picture.
Both projects are going well, so
Yeah.
the bridge and the
Yeah.
retaining wall,
Yeah.
because that's the rebar part, right?
The rebar is part of the whole wall and also the bridge abutment.
Okay.
Yeah, that whole abutment and the wall is basically becoming one. Yeah,
Yeah.
Right, they'll just rest the bridge on top of it,
yeah,
or whatever.
yep. Yeah, there'll be a little abutment like on the other side.
Yep.
With a little notch, but that'll be in the wall.
Right.
Yeah. So, but that's going good. They had, last week, there was some high water, a couple feet from the top of the coffer dam. Tonight, I checked it. I think we're cresting probably right about now. And then I'll check it after the meeting, and I've just been communicating with the project manager for CCF, so.
And if that goes over, they kinda can't do much, or,
No, there's pumps in there.
okay.
There's equipment in there, but the micropiles are down into the bedrock. So there's really no, it's just pumping the water back out, which I think they have pumps going all the time,
Okay,
so,
good.
yeah. They're down below the actual riverbed,
Right,
right?
they're way below it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions? And I can move into just a brief update on the back roads, and the road foreman's report. So Macville, we had a blown out culvert, I think it made the news, and that culvert's since been upsized. We've stone lined the ditch, just below Puffane Place. We're getting, quite a bit of surge of water down through there. There was some upgrades made to the property owners, and I think the water just kind of moves more freely and a little faster down through there, so I think we've.
You mean Bunker Hill?
Bunker, what did I say? Oh, sorry, I got Macville right here. So Bunker. And, yeah, so that's Bunker Hill. And I had that in my mind, I should have said Macville, because we did a project on Macville, which I'll talk about next. But we were able to use all the material that we quarried out of our pit for the dense grade to pack the culvert in. All the stone lining is all material that we have produced at our gravel pit, so we don't have to rely on trucking from Danville or other quarries. We have that in place, and we have a stockpile of it. That was one of the culverts that was supposed to be upsized for FEMA mitigation. They upsized it to a 24-inch culvert, and we just put a 4-foot culvert in there. So the mitigation that FEMA called out for upsizing, like, that we talked to the state, they have a formula, they have a map, and they can pull from the area and give us an idea of how big the culvert needs to be. So we've got a fairly large culvert in there, so that shouldn't happen again. And in a lot of the other places in town, we've upsized culverts that have blown out. There was work, we put in 6 headers and wing walls on the Belfry Road. I don't know if you guys have been up by there and seen that work. Really, that's just to fortify the inlet and outlet of those culverts and stone line the area around it, just to make it stronger. That's mitigation work, and those are mitigation funds from the damage for FEMA in '23. Fast forward to Macville, they did a ditching and road crowning last fall, and they're finishing up. They had to install a new culvert, a bigger culvert underneath Macville, right where the transition from the asphalt to gravel is, and then they stone line the swale that leads into Macville Pond. And that's done. That was a Better Back Roads grant that we can close out. So, and then they've just been grading. We've had some, we had the power outage. We had some deal with some stuff at the wastewater plant, and some dirty water complaints, that we had to flush some of the water lines.
Has there been any update on the roadside cutting? So I know we were waiting.
Yeah, I think that's scheduled for July. Yeah. I know that all that's been, the contract's been signed and
Okay,
that
great.
works.
Okay.
You know,
Oh,
scheduled.
did Tommy get a hold of Marcus?
They've done street sweeping.
Oh, they did?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Yep. Edward met with the operator, the street sweeper. He was gonna start earlier this week in East Hardwick.
Oh, good.
So
Great.
I'll get an update from them.
Good.
So it's time to switch to the summer banners?
Yeah, I was
Is
gonna
that
ask you,
their
it's on the
plan?
calendar.
Mhm.
It's on the calendar for July 1st or early June.
Solstice, yeah,
Okay, so
21st,
those are the gold or the summer ones?
summer ones that haven't ever been up yet.
They haven't been up yet, okay.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw that on my calendar and I was
Yeah.
gonna ask you. So we'll get those up next week.
And maybe they can put some bags over those signs that day. when
Yep.
They've got a ladder on Main Street.
Yep.
'Cause the crosswalk sign that's down on the ground across the road has a bag over it, but not the one that's still up,
Okay,
along with the parking signs.
got it.
Maybe we'll finally be able
Great.
to encourage people to not try to do the wrong thing.
Well, thanks, Sophie.
Yeah,
Any other questions about those two? Awesome. We have item 1, select board to consider approving a manufacturer's tier 3 small cultivators renewal for Green Mountain Scientific Corporation.
So moved.
Second, do we have any, is there anything we need to know about this?
there's been no,
No issues.
What
No issues?
is it? Just, I mean, they do
yep, so.
like dope and stuff, right?
Every year, the Cannabis Control Board requires cultivators, retail, and manufacturers to do a state license. And it's similar to a liquor license, and the town approves it.
Okay.
And if there's any violations, that's when we would bring that up. If there's any issues with the public, that's when we would bring that up. But everybody's in compliance, and that's why the board sees it.
Okay.
Okay, so we have was that a second, Sherry?
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? It's a good question, Derek. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. You can do a thumbs up, Larry, too. There we go. All right. We got all the ayes. So that passes. Next, we have item 2, select board to consider approving a manufacturer's tier 1 small cultivators renewal for Root to Vitality Cannabis LLC and for All Blessed Cannabis LLC. And we can do those together.
Yep.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion about those? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Got Larry, good. So that's 5 ayes, ayes have it. Item 3, select board to consider approving a water and sewer connection for 166 Highland Avenue. This is in our packet. Do we have anybody here? We don't have anybody here to talk about this, right? Okay,
I mean, I can talk about it.
great. Do you want us to do a brief Anything we need to?
So there's a building lot on Highland Avenue, that it was 2 lots, it's been subdivided, and they're planning on doing a water and sewer connection and building a house there. So that's a prime example of infill development.
Yep.
Is
Which is great.
it one connection? So there's 2 things in this.
So there's a sewer and
Okay.
water. So there's applications for a sewer connection
Okay.
and applications for a water connection.
I'll make a motion to approve the water and sewer connection for 166 Highland Ave,
And that's subject to a state wastewater permit.
subject to,
Yep.
Wasn't there a house there before that just it has been gone for a long time?
I went
So
back,
there's no infrastructure there at all?
I went back to quite as far as I could. There was a structure there at one
Yeah.
point. It's been too long
Yeah.
for state water supply rule. So there needs to be an engineered wastewater plan put in place, and there needs to be a new tap into the water main and a new service into the sewer main. So likely when they start digging and developing a lot, they'll find remnants of an old sewer pipe
Yeah,
and maybe a
they-
water line.
yeah.
But it's likely out of compliance, and it's been a while since there was a house
A long
there.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so.
Great. So
Good.
we have a motion, and Sherry
I'll second.
and Derek, you have a second. Any other questions or discussion about that? Great, I think it's a perfect example of infill development, which is awesome. We like to see that. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, it's an aye, Larry, great. So that is approved. Next, we have item 4, select board to review and consider approving the MOU with Hardwick Downtown Partnership. This is an annual MOU, right, Sherry?
It has been
It
an
has been?
annual MOU. We're proposing that we change it to every 3 years, just so that we don't have to.
And it's every 3 years, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's part of the
Yeah.
new draft.
I know, Heidi, are you here to talk about this at all, or is it?
I can talk about it.
If you want to introduce yourself, and if there's anything that you want to say about it.
I'm Heidi Krantz, I'm the coordinator for the Hardwick Downtown Partnership. Just to give you a little bit of background, I also did this work for the town of Morristown when they got their downtown designation, so I have some experience with this. I'm happy to answer questions about it, but I don't think that we proposed any significant changes, but primarily the request to extend it to a 3-year term for it, in part just to help with the stability of the relationship, because as select board members come and go and representatives change, it just makes it a little bit more stable for everybody's sake. And we're very appreciative of the support that we get from the community, from the town, on the work we're doing.
the one change I saw of the local option tax, that was already voted no. That was an MOU. It was like-
Yep,
Right.
we don't have one yet, but we might.
We might,
In the next 3 years, it's possible, so
Okay.
we just left it in there. It was in there last year.
Okay, fair enough.
Mhm.
that's actually a pretty common tool in especially designated downtowns, but in other downtowns as well.
Does the 3-year duration match up with signatures for appropriations? Is every 3 years you have to redo signatures? So does the MOU, I'm just wondering if that, because you put the appropriation, the 2,800 in here?
But this is a line item in the budget, it's not an
Not.
appropriation.
Right.
We
Okay.
do,
So
But
this is,
there's also an appropriation.
there's a reference to the appropriation that we have received in the past, but it doesn't, it's not binding to the appropriation at all. It's
This-
just a reference. It's part of some of the support that we get from the community.
so it's, the downtown partnership receives, we budget for a contribution to them. So the appropriations is not like what we vote at town meeting. It's actually built into the budget.
And that's the 2,800 that we've already voted on this year?
Isn't the 2,800 from the beautification?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, so it's the
Yeah.
1,500.
Downtown beauty line or whatever we call it now, which I'm not sure what it's called now.
So it's the 1,500 then,
Yeah.
that's allocated right now in the
Right.
budget.
Yes.
And then there's an in-kind contribution of the 1,500, which is in-kind space, office space and supply, you know.
So what is, I'm sorry, I just want to make this, I just want to clear, like, because if we vote on this and it's a 3-year MOU, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page about it. So if under funding, it says continue to provide support for HDP with town funding through the former downtown beauty budget line item in the amount of at least 2,800 a year, or as appropriated by voters in the annual budget. So it's already 2,800?
I'm
That, oh, you're looking at it,
checking.
okay.
The appropriation has been 2,800. And I don't believe that we have to do a new petition for the appropriation until next year.
No, because it's in the highway department budget.
No, only the 1,500 is in the budget.
I thought the downtown beauty, streetscape, no.
No.
Right here, downtown maintenance. Is that it?
I think that's what Casey changed it to.
Okay, so it was actual, it's budgeted for 5,000. So that's,
So is at least 2,800.
some of that goes to basically, is earmarked for the downtown partnership for the downtown.
And do we know how much that is, or we're saying that now, that it's 2,800 in the MOU? 28 of the 5. So like if we sign this, then we're basically committing 28 of the 5 for the
Yeah.
downtown beauty fund to the downtown partnership. I just want to make sure that we're clear where the money's coming from.
Mhm.
So, okay, so that would be out of the downtown beauty fund. And then Sherry, you're saying that there's also an appropriation that the
Yeah, that
voters
doesn't
vote
have
on?
anything to do with this.
Okay.
That's in kind. That's the 1,500.
The 1,500 is the other thing.
No,
And
sure.
isn't that in kind?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's all in
right,
kind.
that's office space at the townhouse.
But there's not an appropriation that voters vote on. It's,
No.
There
Okay.
is.
There is, yes.
It's-
There
it's
is an
built
appropriation,
into-
but voters vote on it.
no, I
That's-
think it's both. I think it's, Tracy, can you?
So I think we're getting muddled up here. So there are 3 things.
Yeah,
There's in-kind, in-kind gift of the town, valued at $1,500, which basically is use of copier. It was some of my time when I was in that position. There is a line item that used to be for flowers, which was generalized to sort of, it used to be called beautification. There's
Downtown beautification or downtown
which
beauty.
is now, the downtown partnership is allowed to spend that for those kinds of things. And then the downtown partnership requests from the voters an appropriation every 3 years, whatever it
Yeah.
is. And I don't know, you were asking what schedule is that on?
yeah.
I remember getting signatures for it at the co-op, but it wasn't
But I
last year.
don't know if
But
it's
that-
this.
That was your original question.
That was my original question.
Yeah.
But that,
But
you
it
know,
doesn't, I mean, it doesn't affect necessarily our MOU. I'm just kind of curious as to what the real like commitment from the town is. So it's,
$1,500 plus that money that was already going to Flowers downtown. It's just now the control of that money is given to the
right. So
downtown
it's,
partnership instead of individual owners of property in downtown to buy flowers.
Okay.
It's going to the downtown partnership.
so then with the in-kind, it's a value of $5,800 of funding between the appropriation, the budget,
No,
earmark.
the appropriation is,
It's not, so
I
the,
don't think we should count the appropriation because the
Well,
voters may not vote for it. You know what I
they
mean?
will
That's not a
offset.
budgeted item.
Yeah, but it's still taxpayer dollars going to,
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
but
up to
voters
them
are
whether we
deciding
get it or
whether or
not.
not to
It's
do
not
it. It's,
you.
we're not deciding to do that.
I'm not debating on whether or not it should go to you. I'm just trying to figure out, I'm trying to clarify how the funding works out because it is confusing in the language to me. So because there's, there's language around appropriated by the $2,800 or as appropriated, which is a little bit confusing. The in-kind is, so I'm just trying to clarify exactly how much money every year the town of Hardwick is voting on to give to the downtown partnership. And so if they vote on the appropriation, if they vote on the town budget, and there's the in-kind donation, it's a total value of $5,800, because it's two $1,500 and one $2,800, right?
But this is an agreement.
No, I understand, I'm
Okay.
just trying to understand the
I
total.
think what we need to do is change this wording and remove the year or as appropriated by voters. Just take that out and then have the at least 2,800 in the annual budget, which will cover the downtown beauty line item. Whether it remains at 2,800 or is at 5,000 for next year, that will be up to us when we're doing budgets.
Yep, and that might just
But
be.
just at least, because we want to be able to cover the traditional amount that we end up spending on flowers and other plantings downtown every year, always.
And then the appropriation.
And that's not an operational expense for the downtown partnership. That is money that they're putting directly into the downtown.
Sure, yeah, I'm just trying to understand,
So I think that
understand.
the
because
fact that appropriation was
Yeah.
used in the wording, that it should just be removed.
Yeah.
I think that makes it more clear.
That helps. Okay,
Good on that?
good on that.
I wanted some clarification around the economic vitality goal two of working with the town to promote and support economic development loan fund as a resource for downtown businesses. I know we spoke about that before, of kind of what that would look like. Obviously, the downtown partnership should promote that, as we want downtown businesses to utilize that. I guess it's just, yeah, I would just like clarification around the expectations of the downtown partnership around the economic development loan fund. Like, is that just like, here's our support, good, or is that an expectation of being more involved in that process?
That doesn't define it, but we do work to try to help people realize that that's available to them if they want to use it.
Sure.
So we're promoting it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just, when I speak with current property business owners or potential ones, that's one of the resources that I'll share with them that's available to them
Great, yeah.
to use in the communities. And again, those revolving loan funds exist in a number of towns. They came from grant monies quite a few years ago to those communities who set up those revolving loan funds. And they're generally overseen by a separate committee within the town, and often have a person from the downtown partnership as part of that committee.
Yes, we don't currently have that structure in Hardwick.
Right, I
So
understand that.
I think that's maybe what Tim's asking.
Yeah, yeah, it's just, I would just say it's a really powerful tool, because it is specifically designed to be for businesses that in many cases would not be eligible as startups, for example, for funding from other places. So it's a great tool.
Totally. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm familiar with the tool, and I'm grateful for it. I suggest anyone who wants to start a small business utilize that for
Yeah.
sure. I guess it's more of the clarification of the structure again around that, and kind of who has the say of, who's in control of the economic development loan fund.
My understanding is there's a separate structure for that.
There's a policy
Within the
that
community.
exists.
Right. Again, just
So
clarifying.
it's still,
Yeah. Tracy?
Tracy?
This is just because it's related and I don't need to answer anything right now, but I did look into all of this after it came up at the previous meeting about what the structure should be for reviewing those loans. And I went online and I found every town I could find that had one of these loan programs. I found maybe 5 or 6 of them. Every single one of the towns had a separate committee that reviewed these loans. It didn't mean it weren't select board members on the committee, but I couldn't find a single example where it was the select board reviewing. Just putting out there as a point of.
The select board alone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that has been an item in previous agendas, and one of the last tasks was to have the downtown partnership look at it. Obviously, we're not talking about it tonight, but to look at it and see how the downtown partnership might be involved in that. I imagine we're gonna be talking about that. We had set a date for August, right? To review that?
August 4th.
I super appreciate having this be, like, showing us everything that's changed. It's great to have that format, so thank you for doing that. And it's been great to see the downtown partnership really pick up a lot of momentum and do a lot, for Hardwick. Does the board have any other, like, specific, this is kind of our opportunity to ask these questions, and if there's language that needs to be tweaked, now is the time to do it, I think. Or if there's anything that we want to ask the downtown partnership to do differently, or just, if anybody else has.
Otherwise, I thought it looked good.
Great, and
I do have, when do we have to reapply for a downtown designation?
Well, that's changed with the Act 181.
Right, I need to
Changed
look into it because it has changed.
Okay,
And so the terms, it used to be 10 years.
okay,
It's possible now we may never need to
okay,
apply again. Act 181, there is some language in there which would mean that it's not a thing you reapply for, but there's all these other.
But you have to do all these, this other reporting, yeah.
Yeah.
okay. Just
We
curious.
just don't want to miss it.
Right, yeah, that's right, that's in my head.
Great, so maybe, if there are no, Larry, do you have any thoughts or questions about this? No? Okay, and just do a quick recap for folks listening. Do you want me to go through anything, Sherry, for the goals, like read anything like that, or? You feel like we're good enough?
I don't know how much, it's a long document.
Okay.
But you could,
And I would add that
Summarize.
all about our plan is on the website.
yeah.
Our strategic plan, so people can look at those.
Yep.
More detailed
Mm-hmm.
write-ups about those.
Yep. So as of right now, the only change would be to strike in the funding section or as appropriated by voters, and just have it read $2,800 a year in the annual budget, which is already in there under the downtown beauty line item. That's the only change so far. The board feel good with the 3-year duration?
Yeah. Does it have, that 2,800 goes out of the highway?
It does.
Does it, I mean, we
What's
No,
No, it's a
budgeted,
line
it's a
item.
line item.
so we can like change where that comes out of?
Well, if
And
we,
they're gonna be, the highway department's gonna be pretty strapped here with.
It's not out of highway, it's
Oh, I
out
thought
of
that's
the
what it is.
line items.
no, it's a line item.
Oh,
It's already coming out
And
of,
it's
like,
been
we've
out
already
there
allocated
for
that for
many
like
years.
downtown
Okay.
beautification. It was
and that beautification goes,
directly towards like buying flowers, trees, stuff like that.
Christmas
okay,
lights.
so
There you go, yeah.
Reese,
Uh,
what was the deal with that? I was told those were free and I had to pay for it.
What was that?
Reese,
It's
No, I don't.
not
I think we've ever bought
necessarily
rates.
all the same.
No, the lights were free. The wreaths
Okay.
were not, because we didn't know who would take them or not, but the lights we were planning to put.
yeah,
Yeah. But Christmas lights, we're hoping to do more of that in the coming year.
Could we, I don't want to belabor this too much, but would it be possible to add under the duration of the MOU some like very blanket statement, like if either party needs to review MOU within the 3 years, we will do that? And that could
Well,
be downtown partnership.
Isn't that at
The
the end?
period can be terminated at any time,
There's a
With
clause
the
in that.
agreement of both parties.
yeah.
Can always
So
be.
Did I
it's
miss
kind of
that?
the same
Okay.
thing.
Okay,
Yeah, the
Okay.
end of it was
great.
like,
Duration, under duration,
Oh, yeah, okay, I see that, great.
yeah.
Awesome.
So
So-
it can change anytime, but it's helpful to not have to do it every year, really. It largely stays the same.
So I'd make a motion to approve the MOU with the Hardwick Downtown Partnership pending agreed upon changes, edits,
And to authorize him to sign, it has his name on it.
and to authorize the town manager to sign.
Do we have a second for that?
Larry looks like he's seconding.
Larry's got a second for that. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great, the ayes have it. Thank you to Downtown Partnership for putting that together and doing all the work that you do for Hardwick.
Thank you for renewing it.
Yeah. Next, we have item 5, select board to review and discuss the draft public engagement policy. So at our last meeting, we talked about this quite a bit. This was an idea that came up that Opie had last year. And I want to give a big kudos to Amanda and the town manager's office for putting this together so quickly, and for, like, it's a very thorough, very nice looking, detailed document. I don't know, Amanda or Opie, if you want to just like go through some of the, quickly, what some of the goals of it are, or if there's anything you want to touch on.
Yeah, so this policy came from the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. And this is a model policy that's used in other towns for public engagement. We put this policy in front of staff at a staff meeting, and some good points were raised. For example, some of our grants and some of our grant requirements are to follow a certain public engagement plan, and it's built into the budget. So we just want to make sure that if we do adopt a public engagement policy, it doesn't conflict with some of the grant requirements. And we thought maybe we turn it more into a procedure, public engagement procedure. And really this, we would like to be able to, the fear was that we don't want to make more of a lift for staff to have to do things that we're really already doing in some cases, in different ways, with even more public engagement. So there was some gray areas, and we thought, we had a conversation with Larry today, Amanda and I, over the phone, and we thought that there might be maybe more of a procedure, a public engagement procedure, and really, like we did with the grants policy, where if an outside committee or commission were to propose like a $300 grant or go for a $300 grant, like it would cost the town $1,500 to administer that grant, with time, staff, reimbursement. So that's why we kind of wanted a little bit of oversight, so people weren't applying for grants. What we thought with this policy, or with the public engagement procedure, is that when projects come to the select board or the town manager's office, and projects we want to support, we just want to make sure that we are checking all the boxes to notify and engage the public, so we maintain transparency and maintain trust that we're asking the public for their opinions and their approval of moving forward with certain projects. I know that was kind of long-winded, and I probably didn't answer any of your questions, but I don't want to create another black and white policy, or another policy that's many shades of gray. And that's kind of a concern.
Yeah. So this is basically, what you're saying is this, as a resource from VLCT, this is something we can work off of and create our own version.
Right.
That is less of a lift for the staff, while also engaging the public, making sure we're being transparent and engaging the public in a proactive way, which is great. So what pieces, to me anyway, I thought like having a list of the communication channels was super helpful. Like, and, you know, we've had lots of people reach out to us before about like, oh, what's our newspaper? We can't really hear on Zoom. Like, we know that there are some places where we aren't reaching people. So is that a part of, like, we would create our own kind of communication channel checklist? Like our own version of this, basically?
Well, for example, if we had a V-Trans grant, like for a scoping study, like we did for Mill Street, we could, within the requirements of that grant, there's public meetings. So we could just check the box, is there a public meeting? If there's a public meeting, how are we getting those invites out, in what channels? So kind of like a set of guidelines, as like front porch forum, town website, local paper, that type of stuff. So really just like a procedure to inviting the public to weigh in on town topics.
I don't know, can I don't know if you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that makes a lot of sense. I think also, you know, if we take the first few parts of this draft, this model policy, and kind of write a policy that talks about what we value, what we think is important about public engagement, and call for a procedure that OP has to prepare as the administration, you know, that requires public engagement in the way it sees fit, but meets the goals, meets the vision that we set out for the policy. That's kind of how I would like to do this. And I'd be happy to take this model and kind of take the first page of it or two, whatever it is, and really turn it into a Hardwick focused policy about, you know, with goals like these and guiding principles, and the real action built into the policy is to create a procedure that we expect to be followed, which would include first and foremost, if it's a grant that has built-in public engagement, fine, we're covered. You know, and then if it's a project brought by another committee, then it might need to have a little more detail in the procedure. But I'd like us to work towards making a policy that makes it really clear that the Hardwick Select Board is putting public engagement first and foremost on a regular basis.
I think it'd be great.
Because I'm going to say needs to.
It would be great to have something consistent that we're asking of partners and committees to, like, when projects, really big or small, come up, that we know that we can either give them so that they have already done that public process, or we can at least say, this is the next step in the request, is this public, like this process. I think makes sense. What do you all think?
Yeah, I just don't want to handcuff our staff into like you said, more work in that regard, but having, yes, a general procedure policy that we can enact, you know, particularly in light of some of the most recent issues.
But I think it's also important for the select board to be aware of in your decision-making process when someone comes to you with a project. Like, are you asking those questions to that request?
Or to everybody equally.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a learning curve for the select board, right?
Sure.
I'm acknowledging my own role in that, of my own ignorance, and you know, that being my responsibility. And there is a learning curve.
Tim, can you speak up, Tim? I can hear everybody else.
Yes, just speaking to the reality of our own responsibility to be aware of and informed, and that's a learning curve and a process, particularly for any new select board members. General statement.
Yeah, the only other like question I had was, it was a question in here, which was like defining projects. I think we have a huge scope of big projects. So I'm interested in a part of this process being figuring out, you know, this is my personal opinion, but similar to how we authorize the town manager to make purchases under a certain amount without select board approval, I think there could be a similar kind of, a project is either financially above a certain amount
Right.
or is, like have some,
Yeah, I mean, my philosophy on a lot of this, as I think I've made a bit clear too, especially with the steering committees and things as well, it's like, you know, we're elected to be able to make the decisions that we think are best. And if we have a hard and fast rule of every single little or big thing, we have to constantly go back and do public engagement and ask for support and ask for, you know, take another town meeting, do another vote. It's like, we'll never get anything done. And part of it is, again, my personal philosophy on that is that at a certain point, you know, we are the governing body that has to make those decisions, hell or high water, and people can, you know, agree with us or not. And if they, you know, and they can come and speak, they're always welcome, or, you know, please come, give us that. You know, I've invited many people to that, but I'm a bit hesitant to say, okay, for everything about at this, you know, putting in that black and white policy of saying that every project at X number of dollars or given this or that, then, you know, yes, I think we can do a better job of public engagement and informing people, but at the end of the day, we are the governing body that makes those decisions. And that's sometimes difficult decisions that sometimes people are not happy with. So be it.
But, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
But for example, like, as we're talking about this, I'm thinking that, like, I use the Mill Street scoping study for an example. A bunch of public engagement was done, there were public meetings, public input. We came up with a study, and we came up with a plan and some alternatives for some improvements. So if we go out and get a grant to make those improvements, do we need to go back to the public engagement table and go back to the public engagement policy or procedure in order to implement the alternatives that have already been vetted with the public? You see what I'm saying? So this is where the staff meeting, this is where kind of the conversation went. So we don't want to, like Tim said, we don't want to further complicate the process of government with a policy that's going to, it's going to always be bringing us back to the beginning.
I almost wonder if this policy should be, oh, sorry, Sherry, go ahead.
It's okay. If you're applying for a grant, then you know what you're applying for. So it's not like you're going back with 3 alternatives that you're applying for, right? So part of that decision's already been made when the application is being made.
Right.
So,
And we do already have a grants policy.
right?
Yeah, so
So
I think we're protected.
Settles it.
Yeah.
I almost think that we should have this policy really be focused on when outside organizations or committees or like when there are projects being proposed to us that are not already a part of our grant work and our road work and our current budgeting work, because that is already, there is already public engagement there. We can do better in terms of getting the Zoom to be better. But to Tim's point, our meetings are public. We're like, what we're already doing as a town, the town projects already have public engagement because we're required to have public engagement. So I wonder if it's like a specific focus on, and this is, I think, where a little bit of the inequity comes in, is like we get requests, we don't always treat them the same way because we don't necessarily have a policy that says, are you asking these questions? If something's given to us, are we asking, you know, that's great, but are we asking are we asking these questions? So I wonder if we start there almost, like, and this is also just for us to talk about, we're not voting on this tonight, but like, to me, it seems like there's really 2 different things. There's within the town of Hardwick, what Hardwick town government is doing, but there's also all these other projects that are going on that we end up being involved with, whether that's as a partner or as.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I think, again, the onus is on, and I'll take responsibility for that, is to be more informed, of like, maybe that's in the select board packet of like, hey, these are the things we should be asking about, and where it's like, I think more public engagement is good, and it depends on who's spearheading that, you know, whether, as obviously as we saw these last few months, we could have had more public engagement around the Buffalo Mountain acquisition. We have a lot of public engagement around the Jackson Dam stuff, right? And we have, And, you know, we have some public outreach around the essential services building, right? But it's like, but are we gonna have a lot of public engagement around this retaining wall or different flood mitigation or?
I mean, I use the fountain across the road in the Memorial Park. Like, that's a relatively small project, but there's a lot of, it's high visibility, and it means a lot to a lot of people in town. And like, when we decided to go from a fountain to a flower bed, did we do proper public engagement?
But the same thing with the Caspian Beach, the Caspian Beach intervention, you know, with the
Water
runoff, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's like, what is the scope, the scale, you know, how much are we asking either the select board or the town staff to, you know, to do, and is that fair? And it's just like,
Yeah.
you know, again, I think I've made my position fairly clear that.
I mean, I
case
think
by
we can
case.
always sit here and critique it all night and
Yep.
for years to come.
Yep.
I think at the end of the day, public-wise, public outreach-wise, people need to look into it themselves as well. You know, they want to be spoon-fed everything. They need to go on the town website or go on French Park Forum. I mean,
Be engaged.
yes, like, you know, like you said, the Zoom thing, yes, I agree. Danny probably can't even hear me right now. You know, like, yeah, there's some stuff that needs to be fixed and whatnot, but I don't really know how much more we could do without spending actual money.
Tracy, did you have something you
I
wanted
was
to
just
say?
gonna say, it is really tricky because I think Tim was making the point in OP too, that dollar amount isn't always,
Right.
you know, a good predictor of what people are gonna care about or be emotional about, so, or want input in. It's not always the most expensive things that people get really
Right.
emotional about. It's hard.
And that's where, again, I think it's good to have a general procedure, particularly when we have things where we go, ooh, this might be a bit touchy or emotional. Maybe we should engage more in this way. But if we handcuff ourselves to a policy for every little thing, it's, again, I think that just belabors the point
I
and
agree
makes
with you.
things more complicated than it needs to be. So that's my,
Well, it sounds like Larry volunteered to work on something for, for
he did, we
Hardwick,
got a thumbs up.
for
So.
Hardwick specific, so maybe we just ask Larry, hearing all this feedback, Larry, to kind of shape another draft that's a little bit more succinct, I think you've heard roughly everything that was said, Larry. Roughly. But to basically go back,
It's a little hard to hear, everybody, but I do think I heard some of it. I'll check in with a couple people, you know, individually to make sure I got involved before I work on a draft, sometime in the next couple of weeks. Well, by the July 16th meeting.
Great.
I'll do that. It's good.
well, thanks, Larry. Any other discussion about that?
Just one more thing to keep in mind, how we deal with the website and how often it's updated, audited, you know, whether or not information on there needs to be changed or, yeah, I think it gets left behind sometimes. So it could be part of this, an approach to how we maintain that in a more efficient way.
Well, even if it's not left behind, there's a lot of information on the town website, so it's not always easy for
Well, and
folks to find.
sometimes, you know, just like an audit, honestly, of websites is a good thing to do
I think we're planning on
every
doing
3 or 4 years to just make sure that the information on there is useful to people. I mean, yeah,
And also just final
accurate.
thing, as I often say in here, it's like, this information is accessible to the public. You know, they are privy to everything that we are. They can look at these things, they can engage in it, they can ask questions. We have a very accessible, you know, town manager's office. You know, I think any one of us would be open to, if someone wrote me an email and had a question, which they have before, you know, I'd say, hey, I'm happy to talk to you, have a phone call, have a coffee, whatever. Come to a meeting, please. You know, engage in the process. We need, so.
I don't want to belabor this too much, but I think the two things that we could do besides this policy that would automatically make it more accessible for folks, local government, would be to fix our Zoom, so you could actually hear, and make HCTV live. So those two things, I think, would really help people feel like they're able to attend in a different way, rather than showing up at 6 o'clock, so.
Sure.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, besides the policy, like those
Because
are
I think
two.
people are not accessing HCTV as easily through cable, internet, or if they even have that, so having it live streamed would be very helpful.
Okay, thanks, Larry. And thanks everybody else for putting that together. We ready to move on to item 6? All right, item 6, select board to review and revise the economic development coordinator job description. So this was actually formerly the community development coordinator, correct?
Yes.
This position, okay. Sherry, you put this together. Do you want to talk about it?
I just, I'm anxious to continue to have this, someone in this position. And I think that we tried having it as a part-time position, and I think it's possible that we can prove to ourselves that we actually need it to be a full-time position. It would be helpful in some ways to include some economic development in the mix. So I inquired with the other downtowns in the state and checked to see if they had a position that was like this in their town. And so I combined some of the elements of the different job descriptions that they sent to me in this one, just for a draft, to have something, a starting point. Because my hope is that this is not going to be an open position for a long time, because it's, there's stuff that still needs to be done. And it's hard for it ends up falling in the town office.
And so, thank you for putting this together. So so as of right now, this was we're budgeted for a part-time position.
Right.
And there was the thought that potentially there could be a grant? Is that what you?
Well, I had a conversation with Ben Doyle at the preservation conference, the downtown conference, and he said that there used to be USDA funds that you could write a grant for, to fund the full-time position, a new position for a year. But I don't know
I haven't
if
been
that
able to
exists
locate
anymore.
anything.
So I can continue to try to seek that out. I did ask Heather Carrington if she'd ever heard of it, and she did not. She wasn't familiar with it, but he said that it was an underutilized fund, or used to be, so I don't know. I can keep checking on that, but we also had money in the budget that did not go to the position that we had posted but never found anyone for.
That money went into professional services.
Right.
And it supports the project consultant, the engineer and project consultant for the FEMA scope of work, which will hopefully be reimbursed on a Category Z reimbursement from FEMA. If we have that person work on other projects, such as the Essential Services Project or something unrelated to FEMA, that's where that money could be used for consultants. So it's useful.
Or we're just getting ahead of, budget planning for next year. I mean, whether we figure out how to put this in the budget.
So basically, we would want to shore this up so that we can budget for this.
That would be my suggestion, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
I'm just clarifying. I'm not saying I'm
Yeah.
against it.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying we want to clarify this so that when we're budgeting, we budget for it, and then we would advertise for this in the new year.
I would.
No, I think we're
would not be
gonna
that long.
get this out. We're gonna advertise for this position part-time. And we're gonna write the economic development coordinator position as a part-time position. But I think it's something that we need to eventually move into a full-time position.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I think we're constrained right now with what we have budgeted for next fiscal year.
Okay.
Unless there's a grant opportunity, but I haven't been able to find the USDA opportunity.
Yeah.
And this would be a slight shift from the community development coordinator.
And
job
yeah.
description.
And this would serve your needs at the town office.
you should ask that question.
This would,
Like, what's your opinion on this?
there's some things that would work. I think that the grant funding world has changed quite a bit. I think some of these bigger grant opportunities are more competitive and harder to align with what we're actually doing right now, which is still rebuilding from the flood. And we're gonna have some big projects such as.
Sure. So I guess my question is just that, like, based on this job description, you know, your office would benefit greatly from this.
We can definitely benefit from
Yes.
most of this stuff when we're ready for
Okay.
a lot of this.
Yeah, that's my question, so.
If we either were not able to find somebody, or if we didn't fill the position or decided not to refill the position, we could use the money that we are not currently using on that salary for a contractor, correct? Or not really? If we had to.
I mean, I think it would be your call, the board's call.
So I'm just saying, if there's a grant opportunity coming up that the town office doesn't have the capacity for, we could either potentially hire Heather or somebody else
Mhm.
to help us with that grant if this position isn't filled.
Correct.
What action is needed?
To consider.
I mean, I think that the goals of this are great. I think we need to spend a little bit more time thinking about what something like increasing housing opportunities in Hardwick really means for the town. That's very different than the community development coordinator job description. I think Kristen has done a really good job with the zoning and trying to help with density in housing. To me, that's like a lot to commit to right now without having a big conversation about the town of Hardwick's role in housing development. I think there should be a role, but I don't think we've defined what that is yet. So
I think with the CHIP program and some of the state initiatives for housing, we're not in the best position to be able to administer any of those projects
Yeah, without somebody.
without somebody doing that, like focus on housing and economic development, and also our regional partners. The housing problem is not a problem that we can fix with our current staff. And I really don't know, I don't have a lot of experience with housing projects. There's currently no public housing projects going on in the town of Hardwick.
yeah.
Heidi has been.
Oh, hey, sorry, I didn't see
I
it.
just wanted to share that I think this is a great opportunity for cooperative work between what the designated downtown, not necessarily, the Hardwick Downtown Partnership does it because that's the role it plays, but that's part of the big overall focus of the Main Street program, which is what's behind the downtown, designated downtowns, in terms of the sort of the integration of economic vitality with housing and putting the whole picture together. And, in the months that I've been working here, there's opportunities in this downtown of spaces where we could be doing more, and that's like, to me, it seems really challenging to try to put all the pieces together at the same time to make it move forward. And it would be sad to miss out on some opportunities because we don't have the horses to pull the wagon.
Mhm.
And that's, it feels a little bit like that. And there's not a lot of grant money around behind it anymore. And grant money can be great, but grant money can also be a hindrance because grant money lasts for a period of time and then it disappears. And if you don't have a sustainable way to keep it going, then that doesn't necessarily solve the problem. But I would love to have a more of a partner within the municipal side of things to be working with. So when I'm talking at property owners about what could go into their buildings, we had somebody that I could also go to and say, gee, can you, on behalf of the town, start looking into, like the issue around the pharmacy, finding what are our options around bringing a pharmacy here, or for a particular other kind of store, or do we need, other kinds of service that we can't find because we don't have somebody that has all that knowledge and those skills. And I think it would be a big bonus for Hardwick right now.
And I think all of that sounds great, and I'm in full support of that. I think to Kaylee's point, it's like, what role, particularly for housing and housing development, and I know there's been a lot of talk around that, recently. And again, I think I've been very clear. I don't know how much the town, it's like, I don't know if the town can fix, regional or national labor and material prices.
No.
And so again, I'm happy to support this. It's just, I would also like to kind of shore that up and, see what we're actually asking for and who can fulfill that. But I think it would be good, and just to clarify what they're actually doing.
Yeah, and I don't think the town can solve the housing issue, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, well, does anybody else on the board have, before I want to, Larry, do you have anything you want to?
I just want to say one thing, that I think this is actually the perfect thing to think about when we're talking about public engagement. I love the idea. I think the goals are good, the duties, I'm all in favor. And it's a big chunk of extra money eventually coming from somewhere. And I think our community wants to be involved with that early and often. And so I think we should consider, how else can we put the word out that we're even considering spending an extra $30,000 or whatever it would come to. It's like I'm saying, there's a big chunk of our community. We want to know that early, and we want to know it often, because spending money makes them upset. And so I'd like them to know, actually we need to know about how we do that if we're going forward with it. For when it's time to make it a full-time job, I think people need to hear about it a lot, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. I also personally feel like, we do have the money already budgeted for the community development coordinator. That is a role that's currently open. I think we could, if we have a goal of talking about this for our upcoming budget year, then there's an opportunity for more public engagement, and also taking some time to define something like what housing means for Hardwick. Potentially having, we heard this at the select board forum, that affordability in housing is a top issue for Hardwick. So maybe we could have a similar conversation about engaging the community and what housing might mean for the town. But I think, we just don't have the $63,000 right now for this position. We have whatever is left of the current position, and without a clear way of getting whatever is extra. So we could either post for the CDC coordinator, which we already have that budgeted for, we already have that position, or we can punt it and do a totally different position, and then.
I think we advertise for something resembling this, obviously not at a full, but with the money that we do have, with the intention of, looking at this more comprehensively during budget season to hopefully provide the necessary funds to facilitate a full-time employee. But I don't want to move forward with a full-time position. I don't feel comfortable allocating all those funds tonight. We can advertise for something, again, similar to this job description, but under the former salary.
Derek, you have any thoughts on it?
We can just post the community development coordinator position and see if anybody applies,
There you go.
as it is.
And then have this be ongoing.
Some of these duties in this job description are.
Yeah, it was a blend.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
And it can be it can be a.
I guess the only challenge with that is if we find somebody who we hire, just theoretically, somebody says tomorrow, yeah, I want to be the CDC coordinator for 20 hours a week, and then we decide in 4 months that actually we want a full-time economic development coordinator, but that person doesn't want to be an economic development coordinator and they only want to work 20 hours, we've basically shot ourselves in the foot because we then have somebody working part-time for a job description that's very different than this job description. So I personally think that we need to really look at what the next staffing move is for the town, what's most important. If we have to hire somebody to write a grant for us, we can. That is an option. I feel pretty uncomfortable of just posting the CDC position if in actuality what the town needs is an economic development coordinator.
Well,
So,
I think we could, again, post kind of a part, again, this blended, a blended job description for our needs under a part-time position with the potential that it could turn into a full-time position. And of course, that would be at the discretion of the town office doing the interviewing to say, hey, this is the right fit this is a person who would be the right fit. I mean, I hear your concerns and I agree with you. But no reason that we couldn't post something similar to this. And, or if you want to punt it,
no, I don't usually like to punt things, but I just don't wanna, I'm worried that we just post the same thing that we had. And Tracy, thank you for everything that you did as the community development coordinator. But I'm worried that we do that, we have somebody and then we decide in 6 months that actually what we really need is a public service director again, and we don't have enough money to have both. So I feel like we really need to think about.
Maybe we talk about it at our select board retreat. I don't know, I mean, it's.
And I just want to make sure that whatever staffing choice we make next is really what the town manager's office needs and what the town of Hardwick needs. And I personally don't feel like I know enough about this. I don't know if a CDC position part-time is what we need right now. So that's, I really think, up to the town manager's office to decide. If it is, then we can post it. If it's like maybe not, then why don't we take the time to figure out what.
How about this? What do you guys want to do?
I think that, I think there's some reorganization that needs to happen. I think that the director of public works position, I think, needs to get relooked at. And I think that we need to move some of these projects forward before we put more projects on the board.
Okay, so then I think that we should hold off and discuss in the future more kind of reorganization of duties and what we actually want this to be that would best serve the town office.
And it might be exactly this. We might find that actually it is this description. I just don't know if tonight we have enough to. So I think the work that you did, Sherry, is great. I think that we all agree that we need to be involved in housing. We need to be involved in economic development for Hardwick, but it's more complicated than just that. So what's a good next step for, we can talk about it at the retreat, which we are going to decide on a new date for. We can bring it up in another agenda.
I mean, I would like to see the town office kind of shore up, okay, what does that reorganization look like and what are the needs of the town office? And, whether that's a public works director, whether that's a economic development coordinator, what would an ideal structure look like? And then again, how do we make that happen?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the town office, I think it's the town as a whole.
Yeah.
And that's to Larry's point.
Sure,
Yep.
Yeah.
that's fair.
Yep. Well, it's a super important conversation to have, and we wouldn't have had it, Sherry, if you hadn't have done the work to put it together. So thank you for doing that. So we're going to,
Pun.
but I think let's bring it up at the August 1st meeting again. How about that? So we don't lose it. Does that seem reasonable? Because then we have a couple months before budget season.
Sure.
And
And you want town staff input?
yeah, I think so.
Between now and then?
Is that what you're saying, Tim?
Or how do you want to figure
We can
out the
provide that.
public?
I want staff input.
Yeah, what is missing? What is
Right.
needed?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
I'm sure we'll have
In
conversations before
discussing
then.
this in meetings as a form of public engagement.
Yeah, for sure. Great. Anything else on that? Thanks again, Sherry. Putting it together. Item 7, the select board to consider forming a Better Connections Task Force for the East Hardwick Village.
So this was a request from the planning commission chair. This is an ongoing project, the Better Connections project in East Hardwick, and this is the next step to moving projects in East Hardwick forward. And that was called out in the Better Connection final plan.
And Eno has been doing some work on this?
But yeah,
Is
Eno's
that-
been part of the Better Connections process since day one. Yeah.
Do we need to form a task force, or is Eno willing to have a leadership role? And then we participate with them instead of having, trying to get another,
I
it's
mean,
just
the-
like another meeting, right?
Right,
So,
the request came from,
and aren't the same
Eno as
people
well.
gonna come?
yeah.
Aren't
Yeah.
the same people gonna be there, Tracy?
Tracy?
So I'm not on the Eno board. I have some connections, but, and so I hesitate to speak to this because I don't want to say it incorrectly, but Eno does not want to be the task force because they feel that's too insular, and they felt like it would feel like it wasn't being inclusive if it was just an Eno thing, and they felt to make it more official, to make it, to give this stamp of sort of town, authority or whatever, that they would prefer to have a select board that might also include representation that isn't on Eno,
I mean, there's other-
people in the community that might want to be involved that aren't interested in being, you know what I mean?
There's
They
the-
just felt like it would be,
There's the Grange, there's the fire district, there's the town, there's,
Well, not to mention that it really is a town project.
exactly,
Too.
Yeah.
exactly. And they felt it wouldn't look right for them to
So-
just become the default place.
So the task force is 1 or 2 members of the select board with other people who are interested in working on a project. That's what the task force is. It's not a ongoing committee, it's a thing that lasts for as long as it needs to last to complete a project. So,
To this point, Sherry, Amanda and I had an idea today, because we have quite a few task force that are popping up, would be to create a super simple template for every task force that has the number of members, who are the 2 people who are leading it, the select board liaison or town liaison, and then when it's sunsetting or whatever. Like having just a simple,
so
that way-
people know what their commitment's gonna be.
Yeah. And that way
it's made for the steering committee.
Yeah, well, that one's really long.
Are we
I'm
saying-
thinking like a quarter page.
Are we
but-
saying a steering committee for the steering committees? Is that what we're saying right now? Because I feel that's what we're saying.
We're just saying that Amanda's gonna make a template maybe.
Well,
If she's nice.
I abstain.
For us. Because I think this has been coming up a lot, which is great. I mean, talk about public engagement, like, if we have a record number of task forces happening right now at once. And it
We
should,
definitely do.
and it shouldn't be all on Amanda to organize that. So I think the idea, or the town manager's office, so if we have a template that says, this is the person responsible for this task force, it could be a member of the public, it doesn't have to be a,
I think Tim volunteered.
yeah, Tim.
no, I absolutely do not. You know.
So that way, like, when we get a request like this, before putting it on the agenda, we could say, here's the simple form to fill out, and then we can easily say, okay, we approve the task force, this is the main, whatever. Like, having there be just a little bit more structure behind it, so that way we don't have to keep coming back multiple meetings, and we can just know who's responsible for it, and know kind of when it's happening.
Well, I think that it's interesting, the timing of these requests for steering committees and task force are, like, I think we've spent, since I've been here, which is coming up on 5 years, we've done really good work in identifying the issues, getting the funding to do the scoping studies, to do the planning studies, to take the next step to getting some of this done. And I think action is where we're at. And I think that's why we're seeing the request for these task forces, because there's a bunch of people, a bunch of groups chomping at the bit to bring us to that next level.
Mhm.
And I think that's where we're at in Hardwick,
Which is awesome.
which is awesome.
There's no denying that it's amazing that we have so many task forces,
Yeah.
but I just want to figure out a way to like
Manage them all?
manage it.
So,
Yeah.
I know, I think
Yeah.
about this a lot.
I mean, my frustration with all of this just is the sense that like, okay, we have a task force, we have a steering committee that then comes back to us, that then said, and their task force, their steering committee, that thing is their priority. We have a lot of other things that we may prioritize that, you know, and it's like, I'm sorry, but that steering committee for this may be, you know, 5th on the list that I think is a priority. And so even though they're chomping at the bit to get that done, we just don't have the capacity as a town to do that because we have other priorities. And I'm happy to hear that, but then I don't want to have a steering committee and go, well, I'm sorry, we'll get to it in fiscal year 2030.
Well, I mean, I think the reality of the Better Connections project is that it really would be 2030 when we do the actual work for it, but if we don't start the task force now, it'll be 2040. So there's a balance of like, I think if we can give the community the ownership to start to do the legwork of the public engagement piece, which is really what this task
That's what
force
those are.
is about,
That's what it's about.
then we're not individually as a select board doing that. We're authorizing different groups to do that public engagement piece. But I think we need to have some goals for these task forces. So rather than having like, okay, now go out and do whatever you need to do, I think we want to say as well, like, okay, whatever it is, Better Connections, town meeting, all Jackson Dam, rather, like, we want to see something. And rather than having them work for something that's different than what we want, I think we need to figure out what our goals are for these different.
That's a capital plan.
Right.
And I think that the select board's job and the town manager's job is to put together a capital plan. And I think a capital plan, the development of a capital plan needs to, the information needs to come from these groups that are passionate about the projects that they're working on. They see the future, they see what they're gonna need, and they formulate the ask to the community, and then you guys would prioritize those asks in a capital plan and schedule out that capital plan for the next 10 years. That's kind of like where we need to go.
Yep. Yep.
Because, and yeah, I mean, this is the slow moving boulder that we need to keep pushing up the hill.
Tracy?
So, obviously I have some feelings about this particular project, but was a great example of community engagement, to say. And so, sort of like with the Mill Street project, it's already gone through a whole community engagement buy-in, what designs do people want, what, you know, so that actually happened already. I don't know how much more, I mean, there are options, so obviously there's gonna be some community engagement, but I think the idea with task force, we're a small community, there are only 5 of you, and you've got, like Tim says, a million things that you have to do. If there's not a group somewhere focused on these other projects, no, it will never move forward. You're never going to have time at a select board meeting to go, oh, I wonder what we should do out of that Better Connections project. It won't happen. So I think that's why having these task forces, in a bigger community, you might have an office that takes care of it, like you might have a staff person that does this. I have a funny suggestion too, that maybe add to the, well, it might not be funny to you, I find funny, to the job description for the next community development coordinator, or whoever they are, is like managing all the task forces. That should be like, it should be.
Task force officer.
Task force.
I mean, and again, I'm not opposed to any, and I'm willing to just make a motion to blanket create all of these right now, but it's that the, you know, each one requires, it's like when we're saying, oh, 2 members of the select board, or this one person from the town office, it's like, that is key, you know, it's like, and I've already said I'm abstaining from these just on principle. Like, it's like, I will listen, I will come to a meeting, I will listen to all of these task force and steering committees and whatever. It's
Doesn't
just,
sound like you're abstaining now.
no, I'm not going to be a member on it. I will listen, of course, it's like, I will listen to all of that and take it into consideration, but it's like, at the end of the day, we then have to filter it and say, these are our priorities, so if we can have as many as we want.
I guess the
What if you find a project
Then maybe I would, if I'm really passionate about that
There you go.
project.
I
But
guess
also-
my question is that, because Tracy's right, we already had a task force for the Better Connections feasibility study,
Right.
that worked very hard. Do we actually need a task force for this, or do we need to put it in our capital schedule for 10 years from now and start to work on it? Or do both? Because that's like, it's a huge, potentially a huge project.
There's many layers to
Yeah,
the
there are many
better
layers.
there's like multiple projects within that plan.
Right,
we're already-
Some
we're
are
already-
tiny, some are easy.
We're already saving for the bridge, which is a part of that, but it's not the kind of project that a task force is going to be able to do on their own for long. Like, there will be some things, but really it's the town that's gonna have to start making decisions about it soon.
We don't really have a mechanism, I don't see in this town for doing that, because our
Yeah.
public works department is busy with roads. You know, how is that gonna happen? You guys don't have time for that.
It would be something like the economic development
cat
coordinator
fights.
or the public
Right.
works director.
Or the task force is tasked with prioritizing what those things that the previous planning has already come up with. So prioritizing, figuring out how they fit into the budget, when, and capital plan, when.
Yeah.
So there's still a few people that need to concentrate on the thing,
Yeah.
right?
It's sort of like the pedestrian safety task force. Like,
Right,
how is that ever gonna be some, you know?
yeah. And then there were decisions made and recommendations accepted, and some of those things have never been done. So this is kind of how we do things. It would be nice to see actual effect from our,
Okay, so we kind of drifted into the general task force land, but so
Well-
for this,
That's the next.
For
person
this-
on
I did make that joke before the
Um.
meeting began, for the record. For the record.
Want it in the minutes.
so are we forming a Better Connections task force for East Hardwick Village?
what if we ask people to send,
No, you have to stay, Tracy.
What if
We'll
we put you
assign
on
you
the
to
task
be-
force?
what if we ask people to send letters of interest and find out how many people are interested?
Yep.
If we attract enough interest, then we have a task force.
Can we do that for?
Actually, they're asking for, yeah, they're a task force, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
That was-
I mean, if people are interested in serving on that, we're, one or two of us isn't gonna be the task force, so
Do we
we have to have some other folks that are interested, so
Did I have
some people need to let us know that they wanna do that.
Did we have a description for this? I didn't see one. So because
We can create a description.
I am pretty stuck on
That
this
could be the
idea
next
of
step.
like giving a description so that way people actually know what they're doing,
Yeah.
Right,
rather than just being
That's
like
okay.
Better Connections. So
Yeah.
Larry,
He's already working on the public.
he's already, okay, never mind. We were joking that we were gonna sign you up for everything since you're not here.
No,
Fair enough.
We voted on it.
But it could be pretty basic. And I think all the goals are in the grant for the Better Connections program. So we can,
We'll
can
look
we,
at the recommendations for next steps on the Better Connections.
can we ask Eno to do it since they've been so
No,
involved?
we can
You wanna do
yeah,
it?
we
Okay,
can do it.
okay.
I don't wanna put that on their
Okay,
organization.
sure.
I think that there's several organizations within East Hardwick that would benefit from being a part of this conversation.
Definitely.
yeah, and they might just send a representative.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, anything else on that? No? All right, item 8, select board to consider setting a date and time for a select board retreat to go further into town projects. So we had talked about, at the last meeting, Larry, we talked about maybe the 2nd September, like middle/end of September. Probably not a great time for you with school, but,
Currently, I like Tuesday afternoons, whenever.
I also prefer Tuesdays.
Tuesday after Labor Day. The 8th of September.
Let's plan on being gone.
Yeah, well, that's gonna be hard.
Okay. How about the Tuesday before, on Monday, or on the 1st? Or August 25th?
They're all fine with me.
So which dates? I heard a couple sentences thrown out and I lost track.
Pretty much any Tuesday in August or September is what I'm proposing.
What about a Friday?
Can we do towards the end of September?
Fridays are less than ideal for me. But could make the morning work on a Friday.
Early October.
Larry, what works for you? Roughly.
So we're looking at a Tuesday in September in the morning or in the afternoon?
Tuesday afternoon or Friday morning I could do.
Did you hear that? Tuesday afternoon or Friday morning?
I mean, with this much notice, I can make one of them work. I can, yeah, I don't think the matters was Tuesday.
Like the last date worked.
So the 25th? Is that what we said?
Check with them because that's, it
What was
is,
that?
I think
First day of
that's
school,
concerned
right?
us.
Yeah.
First day of school where
September, I guess
August.
August 25th. Or September 25th, which is Friday morning.
Works for me.
That would work.
Which one?
Friday would be easier. I mean, I'll do what I have to do.
Larry?
All this doesn't work for me very well.
Oh, sorry, Larry. September 25th.
Oh, okay, hold on.
Which is a Friday.
Yes. Sure, I can make that work. What time? Noon or 8?
I think we're morning is ideal.
Morning's better.
So,
Like 8 to noon?
9, 10, 8, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever.
yeah, 8 to noon? Seems reasonable?
The town's not buying lunch.
Fine, we'll settle for breakfast.
So if the town's not buying it, that is OPAs? Is that how that works?
Sure. But we'll get done right before lunch.
Great, okay.
September 25th,
September
8 a.m.
25th, 8 a.m.
That was easy. All
Boom.
right.
Great.
Thank you for
We'll
bringing
start
us
with
back to
some
that.
calisthenics in the morning.
Hard date.
All right,
Just to clarify, Friday, September 25th at 8, is that what we just said?
yes.
correct.
All right.
All right, item 9, select board to review and consider, and to review and consideration, review and consider, I'm stumbling on that language.
Review and consider.
Review and consider the proposed Jackson Dam Steering Committee structure and public engagement approach. This was talked
The
about,
framework is all laid out for the
yes.
Jackson Dam Steering Committee.
We talked about this at the last meeting
This is
a
for the
little bit.
30% design.
I like it.
And it calls out the folks that are being requested, one Hardwick Electric Department Commissioner or designee, one representative from the Hardwick Select Board, one representative from the Commercial District or Business Community, the town's Resilience and Adaptation Coordinator serving as staff liaison and project point person, 1 to 3 at-large community members, and additional members as determined appropriate by the Select Board and the Hardwick Electric Department.
Great. Any questions about this one?
No, what is the action that we need to create the steering committee and ask for letters of interest?
Yep.
Okay, so moved.
From these stakeholders.
From these stakeholders, yeah, so moved.
Second.
Boom.
Any other discussion about that?
No.
Thought it was super well written. It's a great project. I hope folks get involved with it. Larry, you're good. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye, great. That's, so 5 ayes, excellent. Next we have item 10, select board to review and consider the proposed former buyout property planning and stewardship framework. This has action or is it just a review?
There is an action.
Okay.
And I'll explain it. But this is in reference to the number of town-owned properties that were purchased at buyout and will be purchased, and properties that have been owned through the buyout process for many years. It identifies all the parcels. It talks about projects that are in process for those properties and partners that we're working with for those properties and potential alternatives for those properties. And really what we're looking for is that you would acknowledge the former buyout property planning and stewardship framework and direct staff to continue property assessments, public engagement, stabilization efforts, neighborhood planning, and funding pursuits consistent with the framework.
Kristen put this together?
Yes.
Yeah, I can tell.
And request
It's good.
that the staff requests that the select board acknowledge the former buyout property planning and stewardship framework as the town's guiding approach for evaluating, maintaining, planning, and seeking funding for former buyout properties. It
So-
does not commit the town to any specific project, expenditure, or future use of any individual property. Rather, it establishes a consistent process for assessment, public engagement, stabilization, project development, and future funding pursuits while recognizing former buyout properties as long-term community assets.
So moved. Looks really good.
Second.
Great. Any discussion about this? So I think ultimately these are all things that we've already gotten updates from Kristen on. It's just all together in one plan, which is great. Any other
Yeah.
discussion, questions?
So who is this for? Like, who's gonna use this as a guide, or it's
the
just a
town.
lot
I mean,
of words?
It's the town.
Well, in 10 years, if there's a different town manager, a different zoning and flood administrator, there's a different
Exactly.
select board, that shows the history of all of these, the buyouts, what's been done, what's been, what's been,
Yeah.
recommended.
It doesn't show the ongoing maintenance plan, but I guess that comes later.
With some of these projects, the maintenance plans are baked into this.
I don't see that. But that's, it's a lot of work. so
What do you mean
that's
they're
fine.
baked into it?
So, for example, 56 Brush Street, river corridor, open space, passive recreation, habitat enhancement. So it kind of talks about, what may happen at that property. Recreation, community benefit potential.
So the way I see this is like, that's a directive for, okay, here's a grant that can be applied, that we can apply for.
To several of the properties.
Exactly, for flood
Yeah.
mitigation, for whatever, rehabilitation, for whatever, that,
Some of them still have question marks.
right, but it's,
The Route 14 South Cooper Brook corridor, potential trail and river access, opportunities, floodplain education opportunities.
and none of this is legally binding, it's just for,
It's just the framework.
exactly, so I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I think it also, if there's ever a question of what's happening or what has happened, it's all here. So if the public has a question about it, if we have a question about it, it's a reference tool for what's been done so far, which is important.
Great.
Any other discussion about
And it
it?
can be added
And it can be additive, can be
to, or
changed.
just taken over.
And Kristen comes to select board meetings quite often, so
Yep.
questions can be asked her directly.
Great, any other discussion or questions about this? Larry, you're good? Great, we've got a motion and Derek had a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions? All right, that's 5 ayes. Next is item 11, select board to choose a vendor for the FY27 fuel purchases of heating oil, propane, and diesel. So we did put this out to bid. You guys want to talk us through it?
Yep, we got 2 responses, Fred's and Irving. There's the fixed price, which is really the cost plus dollar or 18 cents, and then actually the fixed price for heating oil is $3.56. The fixed price for propane is $1.59, and then there is a variable option. For Irving, there is not a variable option for Fred's, and then the diesel is variable. There's no fixed price on diesel. And I spoke with Irving, the project manager, or the accounts manager that we have, and the price of diesel is dropping by the day. We have to lock in, like I have a contract to lock in a price tonight, and that's with a 25-cent markup on their cost. It's a 30-cent markup on Fred's cost, but we can also wait until the very end of the month to see what the price is gonna do.
See if that ceasefire holds.
It's
Supposed to go down.
I'm down to,
geopolitical
I'll
climate.
roll the dice.
I would too.
So what you can do is you can authorize the town manager to sign a contract with Irving, but wait until later on in the month to lock in a price for, or I have the contracts, I can send them in for midnight tonight. Those prices.
Wait to lock in a price on just diesel or all 3?
I'd rather gamble. I think diesel and
I
gas.
have 3 contracts, so I
Oh,
can,
okay.
I can lock in the fixed price on heating oil and propane and wait on diesel.
Okay.
And we're within the budget for oil and propane, but just not diesel, with this.
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Because, we don't know how cold it's gonna be. So we did budget, I
Oh,
think. We know how many gallons we're gonna use. I only know what we budgeted for diesel. I can look it up
Okay.
real quick.
And diesel's the most expensive.
Right.
If we're under budget, I don't see a reason, like if we're within the budget for oil and propane, I don't see a reason why to just do that tonight. Like if that's within the budget, and then wait on diesel, if we can do that. Like if we can,
So,
I think it's all gonna come down. I mean, again, I'm a gambler, so I
Yeah,
think
no, I
it's
think
gonna
it will.
come down.
Fuel oil's not gonna, yeah.
I mean,
Well, we have to lock it in, but, I mean, we don't have to take the fixed cost off.
Right.
We haven't taken a fixed, we've always taken the variable the last 2 years
Yeah.
with diesel, and we've actually saved more money.
yeah.
And we don't even have the option to take fixed costs for diesel. I would have to go to each one
Smart
of
on their
these budgets and look up the heating.
Okay.
I just don't have the answer to that
I
question.
mean, I would make a motion to authorize the town manager to sign a contract by the end of the month.
With who?
I don't think it matters. Fred's only $40 more.
We
With Irving.
don't have haven't
So-
had any issues
We
with
would have to
it.
change, we haven't had any issues with everything,
Okay.
we would have to change the tanks.
Yeah.
Oh, so go with
That
Irving then.
costs.
That's
So
gonna
with
cost
Ir-
at least $5,000.
With Irving.
Be consistent with last.
Yep.
Now, does Hardwick Electric use that too? I've seen their trucks there.
Yeah.
So do they,
And
is that?
Rescue does too.
Okay, so.
And they
do-
reimburse us.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I figured, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
We've
that
got-
was a motion?
We've got a motion,
I'll say.
and we've got a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention, oh, aye, great. Ayes have it. Thanks, everybody. All right, next we have select board reports. any select board reports?
The Downtown Partnership's beginning work on planning a bridge event for the Fall Festival weekend. Because our bridge will be done and it'll be a nice time to
Cool.
celebrate. So we're working with the Civic Standard on that.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
When is that? With the date?
Fall Festival weekend is
It's October?
it's October,
It's usually the
it's
First?
the
Is it the 20th?
second,
Near this one? No, second Saturday, second weekend.
can't remember.
great.
The 10th, yeah,
Okay,
second Saturday.
cool.
That's when Aware does their thing, but this will be
That's what it's about.
more afternoon, yeah.
Okay.
Great. Thanks, Sherry.
Afternoon, evening.
I can't wait to walk across that bridge. Any other select board reports? We've got new business.
I have new business.
Great.
So, I received an email from one individual living on Dimmick Road requesting that the speed limit be changed to 25. Currently in our ordinance, Dimmick Road is listed as a road that is 35 miles an hour. It's posted at 35 miles an hour. There's the same concerns on Dimmick Road as there is on many of the other roads. Whether it needs to be changed to 25, I don't know,
Doesn't it mean we have to open up the
the ordinance.
ordinance and then there's the period of time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's listed as a 35. in
That, I'd be down for that. That road's tight and windy.
Mhm.
That one, I don't think that'd
There are a lot of
be,
kids on that road.
yeah, and there's a lot of kids.
So do we just need a,
We need to open up the ordinance, so we need to go through and rewrite the ordinance,
So
which
we need
is.
to, yeah.
Probably
is that an
easy.
agenda item for next time?
it
We would
be-
need to do
it'd be
a
an
traffic
agenda
study
item
too,
for-
right?
Typically, in the past, the board has requested one.
Mhm.
That is something that I'm trying to get traffic studies done,
Yeah.
speed studies done.
Yeah.
I don't know what the guidelines are. There are some roads in the village that are 25. There's a whole list in the ordinance,
Yep.
so.
I think 25's plenty for that road.
Yep, and then I requested, any other residents from the road reach out. And with the ordinance, with opening up the ordinance, there's a public hearing, there's 30 days, there's.
And we can potentially make other changes that
Correct.
have been kind of waiting for something.
Um,
Seems like there was something.
Mike did a pretty aggressive rewrite the last
Yeah.
time it was opened up,
Yep.
but we can do that,
But there
Yeah.
might be something around the connector loop that we want to take a look at.
potentially, yep.
Great. Well,
So
thanks.
is that something you guys are,
Let's open up the
Yeah.
loop.
Sounds like we're opening her up. Let's
Okay.
make a task force about it. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Too soon, Kaylee, too soon.
Work on that.
Any other new business? And then old business. I have the only old business is I think, we've already gotten some letters and emails about the town meeting task force.
oh, that was the other
Um,
thing. We need to, we have 6 people that are interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if at the July, at
We
the,
need to create that,
if the
yeah.
July meeting, we create that and then we review those and potentially get it started.
Yeah,
So it'd be great to have that on
we
the
have some
agenda.
really good
Yeah.
people, really good, interested people that, I think would do well working together on that task force. Or steering committee or whatever it is.
The task
I think it's
force.
a task force, yeah.
Great. Okay, so we'll have that at the next meeting.
So we'll put them on the agenda for the next meeting, also.
We have to
the
create it.
formation of
We have to,
Yeah,
yeah,
so we'll just do 2 agenda items. The creation of a task force and then the appointment
Appointing people.
of the members.
mhm.
Okay.
They can be appointed to something that they have no idea what they're signing up for, because we haven't created it yet. No, they know what they're signing up for.
Yeah.
Great, thanks all.
Other old business?
Yeah,
So there's a rec committee meeting listed on the website for July 9th. Does that still happen?
Did it happen?
Does it happen?
Oh,
on July 9th, but there's no rec committee. But there's a meeting on the calendar, so
Okay.
either we should take it off the calendar, or we should let people know if they look at our website that they're gonna go to a meeting where no one's there. Just saying.
Great. Sounds like town office is gonna check in on that.
Oh, it's been removed. I can remove it right now.
There you go. The only other old business I have is, we already talked about it tonight, but I think we need to figure out what we need to make the virtual option better for the community. So I don't know if we need to like have somebody from the outside help us with that. I feel like we got a new TV and it's better, but it's still not really working for folks who are trying to join us.
So the past 2 meetings, we haven't plugged into HCTV, and they've been able, they've been able to hear us a lot clearer. It's just we need to speak up into our microphones more.
Could we
These
get,
Does Danny
microphones are
agree
not-
with that?
These microphones are not connected to that. So I'm gonna just poll the audience. Larry, have you been able to hear me when I speak?
Yes, and you're pretty clear.
Thank you.
what about everybody else?
Next.
Well, I think if we all,
It's got that like, yeah, it's kind of echoey and a little hard, you know, so, and some people are soft, and stuff like that. I wonder if there's a microphone that can be moved closer to the table, that it only for the Zoom, and that might solve everything.
I think we're gaining on removing the mic jack from the HCTV connection, and I think we can do some more to enhance the camera on the TV. Did you get all that? Was it crystal clear?
Mostly.
Okay. Well,
It
we-
was crystal clear, like really too crystal, like, you know,
Gonna
sloths
ask
and
everybody.
stuff.
I've asked Danny. Haven't gotten a response from Danny, so must be he can't hear us.
Great, okay. Any other old business? Nope, all right. Motion to adjourn. Thanks, everybody.